Hello, everybody. Welcome to Expression Fans here on Busters Network. I'm your host, the Latin Excited Enemy. Joining me is that 1996 flavor known as Mr. Corey Dirrig. Hello, good sir.
What flavor is 1996?
The arcade grunt in fighting games or like violent games and stuff.
Yeah. The little pre-show humor there, huh?
Yes. As you can see, everybody, we are continuing our journey on the Nintendo console and handheld launch list. We are talking about Nintendo 64, and I know it's going to be like, how are you not going to make a show about two games? We're actually going to talk more about those games and the other games that followed up after it, and probably some of our favorite Nintendo 64 games. But with that, everybody, the two games that came out here in America in September 1996 when the Nintendo 64 launched, because in Japan it launched in June of 1996. We got Pilot Wings and maybe one of the greatest of all time 3D platformers in some people's eyes was Super Mario 64.
I think especially at the time it was the 3D platformer.
Yes,
definitely. I mean, what are you gonna say? Crash is better? Come on now.
What's that? Jack
Nights into Dreams,
Jumpin' Jack Rabbit for PlayStation 1, I think, or whatever. That first party rabbit game. Oh, that
I know what you're talking about. Is Cliff Bleszinski's kind of foray into console gaming.
Oh wow. But I remember getting the N64 for Christmas and getting Super Mario 64 and then not having, starting to get some other games and renting them. But like I got Bomberman 64 also during Christmas. When that game came out. Because I love Bomberman. On Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo, like playing those and stuff. And plus, Bomberman was cheaper. I think it was like $50 or $40 for Bomberman on N64. This is I had my N64 before I had my PlayStation 1. Everybody, and then just like all these other games that I used to rent, like Mischief Makers and Turok, and like the wrestling games and stuff. Like I used to play all of that on my N64, and then Resident Evil 2 came out on the N64, and I actually beat Resident Evil 2 on the N64. I never played the PlayStation 1 version or anything. I had Donkey Kong 64, Jet Set, not Jet Set Radio. What is the one by Rare? Jet Set Gemini.
By Rare, Jet Force Gemini.
Jet Force Gemini, yeah.
Jet Set is Sega.
Yeah, I know. I thought it was Jet Set Gemini. Like, no, that's not it. But yeah, I played the Mortal Kombat trilogy on there. Killer Instinct 2, I had at the time and played. Of course, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. I skipped Majora's Mask because I didn't like the 3-day limit on it. But Majora's Mask, Ocarina of Time was my second strategy guide book that I ever got it to beat the game. And I only used it for like one spot, and then never really used the book again until I even beat the game. And then once I beat the game, I went back and then used the book to see all the stuff that I was missing.
Oh man, N64. Where do I even begin? Strategy guides were great though. Especially like you look at the N64 and GameCube era, like strategy guides were amazing.
Oh, yes.
I had so many strategy guides. I still do to an extent. But yeah, that era is definitely where I optimized my strategy guide to the point where sometimes I had 2 strategy guides per game because I wanted to see if people did it differently. um, so I got my Nintendo 64 for Christmas that year. My grandma bought it for me. I've told that story 1,000 times on this show, but my parents bought me a Mario 64, but it was before my grandma had come over and gave me my N64, and I thought maybe, I don't know, for some reason I just thought maybe my parents didn't know, or they something. I was expecting this N64 somewhere, and I didn't get
Yes.
it, and then my grandma came over and gave it to me, and that was kind of that. But Mario 64 was the game I had for a long time before I had really anything else. I had Pilot Wings and Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey at some point. Were like my first 3 games. And then Shadows of the Empire I read about in Nintendo Power, and I was like, well, I got to get that. And then I really loved NBA Jam, and then I ended up getting NBA Hang Time, which was their like follow up.
Yeah.
And that game was so much fun. I loved NBA Hang Time. I just remember the theme song was like these like the really 90s like catchy theme songs where like
Like,
the ladies at the beginning were like NBA Hang
yeah.
Time. Then it went to go, like
They'll have like this jazzy hip hop beat, and
yeah,
the girls,
yeah,
the girls would be singing like it's a hard R&B song or
yeah,
something.
yeah. It's like, man, this theme song goes hard. Uh, so yeah, that was fun. And N64 was like, I loved the Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm just like going through my head all the games now, like Cruising USA and
Yeah.
GoldenEye, and like those first couple years, man, were like amazing. And then Ocarina of Time, I had never played a Zelda game except for Link's Awakening before that. And like having a game that large at a 3D scale was like, it blew my mind how big that game was and how awesome that game was when it came out. I just loved the adventure until like I got to the until I got to the Shadow Temple, and didn't realize you had to go back in time because I didn't know you could do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of ruined it for me. But that world was so seeing. I mean, that was kind of like pre open world, right? Like obviously you
Yeah.
loaded into like segments of the world, but it felt really open at the time, and just seeing that there were different like villages and societies and stuff. Because like for me, I had never really seen things like that before. Like I had, NES, I had like 8 games for it. Nothing on the scale of a Zelda game,
Right.
uh and Sega Genesis, there's only so much Sonic Spinball can do for you, you know what I mean? So
Ooh.
uh but like I had never played like an RPG really before. I had never really played a large scale adventure game like that before. I had seen friends play Super Nintendo and stuff before, but like this was really new to me. Mario 64 was my introduction to like that 3D space, obviously. I mean, as most people, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Uh and Zelda was just like a whole nother level, man. And obviously Majora's Mask. I liked Majora's Mask at the time. Uh I realize now that like it's like a really roguelite type game, and I was like, and like now I don't know if it came out now I would probably not like it, but at the time I loved it. Um there's just so many memories within 64, man. Especially like when you like my friends or my cousins would come over and we'd play 4-player Mario Kart or Diddy Kong Racing.
Yes.
Uh, GoldenEye with DK mode on, slappers only multiplayer. uh, so much. There's so Mario Party was introduced there. Smash Brothers was introduced there.
Man, Mario Party was the game, one of the games on N64. Just
I know.
love that.
Well, it was really easy to convince parents to buy Mario Party because you're like, it's like 50 games in one. Look
Right,
at all these games, because they had like screenshots of all the mini games on the back, right? And so like you could point to me like, there's like so many games you could play on this game. So like it was kind of an easy sell for parents, especially with the prices of cartridges back then, right?
right, and
Um,
and they realizing it's a board game, like, oh, okay.
yeah. Uh, let's see what Banjo Kazooie. Oh man, you can't forget any of Rare's
Mm-hmm.
stuff on there. I mean, I know you brought up Jet Force Gemini, but like Banjo Kazooie was awesome. I love Banjo Kazooie.
Conquer was an interesting game.
Mhm. I think the story behind how Conquer changed is more interesting than the game itself. But
Yeah,
I mean, I liked Conquer, but it was it was what it was, right? At that time, like it was coming out kind of. We were all excited for the GameCube at that point. Uh, the talks about Rare being sold to Microsoft because they were putting out a console was kind of floating around, right? Because like we had heard about the Direct Xbox at that point, and like
yeah.
Rare Nintendo was seemingly offloading Rare for some
So
reason.
the way I found about Rare being sold to Microsoft was through EGM, and
Yeah,
it was like press start, which is their like news section, and that was the main article, and I was just like, what?
yeah. I think I found out about it too because they said that. I actually found out because like I was kind of looking forward to Cameo at some point,
Right,
and they said it was moving from the GameCube. Like it was one of the games that I was excited for GameCube because they were advertising it on GameCube, right?
right.
And they said, they were talking about how it was being moved to Xbox's next console as an exclusive. I was like, what? I thought Nintendo owned Rare, and then I was like, oh no, oh no, oh no. But then like part of the agreement was like Rare still had to finish their games on Nintendo before they moved
Yeah,
over, right? So we got what they did Star Fox Adventures, right? And
yes,
they did the weird Banjo and Conquer games on Game Boy Advance. They did something else too.
because I think Star Fox Adventure was their last console for Nintendo game.
It was their last console game, but then they put out that handheld Banjo Kazooie game.
Okay, and then they went to Microsoft, so they finished up like their console.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that was kind of disappointing, but at the same time, it was like, retro was kind of emerging as like because they were showing off Metroid Prime, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we got all kinds of cool, great games, right? Like Rogue Squadron 2 was coming to GameCube, so like Rare kind of the Rare game kind of just fizzled out because we were getting so many new experiences. But
Right.
you look at their catalog on N64, it's legendary. So many
Yeah.
games. They were like the way Insomniac is putting out games for PlayStation 5 was how Rare was pumping out games for N64,
Yes.
right? Um,
And
you
and
know,
and and the thing I think the thing about just the N64 itself was that, you know, Mario 64 and Zelda Ocarina of Time revolutionized games for the future in gameplay. Like Mario controlling with the analog stick, and then how the analog stick just evolved with different consoles.
mhm,
Um, the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, Link having the lock-on technology, and now how lock-on as a gameplay mechanic is used in a ton of games for decades.
mhm.
Like those are huge.
Yeah, I mean, Z targeting
For
was
this,
everywhere for a long time,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
like I almost attribute Z targeting a little bit to like not directly, but kind of influencing aim down sights to an extent. on consoles.
Mhm.
How they figured out how to aim down sights with weapons, because like Halo didn't introduce that. It was Call of Duty really that introduced it on consoles, but you saw like retro kind of implement the scanning stuff with it essentially, right? Like the
Yeah.
lock on mechanic with that, or you know, uh yeah, it was just that mechanic was like, I mean, and Nintendo used it for a long time, like up
Mm-hmm.
through, I guess it would have been Twilight Princess because, you know, Skyward Sword was motion based, but
Right.
I think you could still lock on with that, right? Like you can
Yeah,
still
you
lock
can.
on.
You can
Yeah.
still lock on.
Yeah. So it was just it was awesome.
Yeah. You mentioned Mario Kart 64, the late night drives in that game with my friends and stuff. So much fun uh, with it. Uh,
Yeah. I mean I played a lot of Mario Kart 64. I'm in the Diddy Kong Racing camp though. I really liked Diddy Kong Racing a lot.
uh-huh.
Because it had that adventure mode. It wasn't just like picking a cup and racing and then, going back to a menu. There's like substance to it. There was like
Yes.
an adventure mode essentially to it, which is what, Mario Kart World is essentially making now, right? Like,
Hmm.
don't get me wrong, Mario Kart 8 is amazing. Mario Kart 7 and DS were amazing, but like Diddy Kong Racing was doing that 30 years ago. So obviously it wasn't like perfect or anything, but I mean, I even look at stuff like uh, Sonic, All Star and All Stars Racing Transformed, and with
Yeah.
the vehicle changing. I'm like, I mean, that's the next step from Diddy Kong Racing. Essentially, is that because Diddy Kong Racing, if you were doing, they had like the water based vehicles and the snow based vehicles, and then the planes, right? Like there was a lot of different vehicle things going on,
Hmm. Yeah.
which was cool. That was really cool, you know. Uh, so yeah, and then like you brought up Turok, right? Like Turok 1 and 2 were great games, and then there was an exclusive Doom game for N64, which was like a
Down
sequel,
64.
not like a port, the way that the Super Nintendo one was, right?
Uh-huh.
I'm just trying to think of all the games I played on there. Like, oh
I
man, Turok was
remember
so good.
Daikatana came to the N64.
Hmm.
Um, and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, and then hit that game because they had it was so much build up. Its software had built it up so much.
Hmm.
Uh, and think they, I think because of Doom, whoever I cannot think of his name. Um,
John
he had
Romero.
the John Romero. Yeah. John Romero's like he's gonna make you his B with this game, and then it came out and it was just like full on low ranking nonsense. Like it was getting fours and threes, and
Mhm.
they just said it was a bad game all around for it. Uh yeah. Um Sin and Punishment was a game that America didn't get to play until it came to the Wii. Um, it was an N64 game that just never made it. The only treasure game that we got here, like I said, was Mischief Makers
Mhm.
and stuff. So that
Yeah.
was kind of like interesting to see. And then you have Yoshi's Story 64, which people called it such a baby game. And this was even before like Kirby's Epic Yarn was considered as a baby's game because it
Mhm.
was too easy.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, you need those easy games, right? I mean, again, we talked about on Pal Block, at some point,
Hmm.
but like my son loves Yoshi's Crafted World, right? And that, and, if my son was around back then, like stuff like that would have been right up his alley, like the
Oh
easy games,
yeah.
like like Kirby and the Crystal Shards, Yoshi's Story. You know, there are a lot of games my son would have loved back then. because of that. So, um, yeah, N64. There were so many games that I loved there. Like even later on, like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, I got on N64,
Yeah.
which was quite a different experience on the N64 than the PlayStation. But I mean, obviously all the stages were the same and the tricks were the same, and the songs were 30 seconds of the same and a loop.
Oh
But
wow.
like the tapes that you could collect, like you couldn't watch them, right? Because
Uh-huh.
the cartridge didn't have the room to store the video. And the songs were like not the full versions of the song because the N64 couldn't hold that much audio files, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it was just a different experience. It's still fun, right? It's still awesome. But by the way, N64, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 apparently is like really rare for N64 and like really expensive.
Oh wow.
I was looking it up. uh but yeah, that was I love the Nintendo 64. The controller though, we got to talk about the controller, man.
Okay, go ahead.
The
Go start it
claw.
off, Corey.
The claw. The claw controller. How did you hold the controller, Ed? Did you
So
did you hold it
I
on the ends like a crazy person, or did you hold the middle?
I um I think I kind of held it in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
There was time that I did hold it on the outside, and like you was able to put my thumb on the analog. But I think that depended on what game I was playing.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time I held it like uh, my left was like inside, and then my other arm was on the outside where the buttons were at.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I could hit the B and A button. So it was just like uh inside like this, and then right where the right part of the controller was at, I was holding it so I could do the buttons and stuff.
Mm-hmm. You want to hear something really crazy, Ed? My cousin would hold it in the middle, right?
Uh-huh.
But not with her left hand, with her right hand. And she would hold the analog stick with like her index and middle and finger and her thumb. And like
Yeah,
when we were playing Mario Kart, she would drive like that. And then somehow she would reach her thumb to press like the A button. I'm like,
yeah.
how are you playing like this? How? How are you doing this? Uh, it was weird. She held it really weird.
There was a Star Wars racing game. Um,
Yeah, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer.
yeah,
It was
a lot of people love.
they loved it on other platforms. Here's the thing. I had that game on Dreamcast, right?
Yes.
But the N64 version was the same. What it came out on N64 and PlayStation 1 also.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea was that you held the R and L button, shoulder buttons to go, right?
Yeah.
And like, they were kind of pressure sensitive, and that's how you kind of turned, right? Like obviously you could use the analog stick to turn, but like you still had to use those because the pod racers had like an engine on each side, and each one of the
Mm-hmm.
shoulder buttons controlled an engine. The Nintendo 64 though, Ed, the draw distance was like, if you didn't have the expansion pack in it,
Yes.
like the draw distance was like 3 feet in front of you, and you're going
Ooh.
like 400 and 500 miles an hour theoretically. And like there are a lot of tight turns, and when you're going through caverns, there's a lot of like rock formations that you could run into, or stalagmites and stalactites that you could run into, or just things that you needed to avoid that you couldn't see until it was like right in front of you. So
Oh
like,
wow.
and obviously, and like also the N64 version, the frame rate was like not great either. Like there's a lot of stuttering in that version for whatever reason. uh and so like the N64 version was often considered the worst version. But it was still there, and people still played it and still loved it because like Star Wars was still like the prequels were coming out at the time, and people still really loved the prequels. You know, which I don't know. I still like the prequels. I'm a. Here's the thing. I'm old enough to be the person that hates the prequels,
Yeah.
right? But the prequels were also like some of my first introduction to Star Wars. Because like I didn't have any siblings that were into it. My parents weren't really that into it, right? And so, uh, I my first exposure to Star Wars were the special editions that came out on VHS, and then like I saw Episode 1, 2, and 3 in theaters, and I loved 1. I didn't really like 2, and I loved 3. Right, so I really liked the Star Wars games that came out around that time because they were based on those movies, and I really liked those movies. And Racer was one. Jedi Power Battles was one, which is on Switch now, which is the free trial at the time of this recording.
Yes.
That was really fun. There was that weird Star Wars fighting game, the Episode 3 fighting game, which was weird. And then there's just a lot of prequel based Star Wars games at the time, and they were all mid, right, but still fun. Right. And so, but then like you had the original trilogy games, which was like Shadow of the Empire takes place between Episode 5 and 6. You had Rogue Squadron, right, which starts off with I forget if Rogue Squadron starts with or ends with the trench run, right? The iconic trench run from A New Hope. And Star Wars was just like really coming back at the time. And then obviously the next generation you had Rogue Squadron 2, which was huge, and Knights of the Old Republic, and there's a ton of Star Wars games during that generation that were pretty good too.
It's kind of amazing if we think about Star Wars games, the number one priority out of all the games is probably Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, I think a lot of people really love Knights of the Old Republic. I loved it. I actually am one of the weird people who like the second one a lot more than the first one. And then obviously you read about what happened because like it ends abruptly. It just like really ends like quite abruptly. But then you read about it and you kind of understand why it ends abruptly. But like there's so many cool things you could do in that game because you could train your party members to become Jedi if you wanted to, right? And
right.
Yeah, Obsidian did a great. I wish that remember when Aspire was supposed to finish it and they didn't.
Right. I always thought that it was BioWare.
BioWare did the first one.
They did the first one. Okay.
Yeah, BioWare did the first one, and then they moved on to Mass Effect. And I guess Jade Empire came out next, but that team was working on Mass Effect too, also. So, which is another game I fully expect to come to Switch 2 is the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. So, come on, EA. Don't stop it. Don't stop at Madden.
Right. Like you normally do.
Although I give them credit for finally putting Madden on Switch because maybe I'll finally play or not. But yeah, there were Star Wars was great on N64. I loved I really love Shadows of the Empire also, especially because like I had a Game Shark. Remember Game Shark, and you could just turn on all the codes and stuff, and I would like play through the game as like a Wampa, like the big snow monster with a blaster, which was cool. So good, man.
Yeah,
Star Wars games. All those Star Wars games, by the way, on Switch are on sale right now.
I only played the Super Nintendo one just to beat them up, and then the second the second level you had to drive on a bike and you couldn't see where you was going. And it
Sure,
was
you
just
could.
a mess of a game. Yeah. But like Ray Racer 64 was a great game that I had fun with on there. War Gods by Midway. That was trying to be like the 3D retro fighter
Mm-hmm.
on it. That game was not good.
Yeah. Third party support on Nintendo 64 was weird. Like it was so random.
Yeah.
The thing
And
too is
then
like sometimes like the third party support on like sometimes you would get great games, sometimes you get exclusive games like, Turok was exclusive, Extreme G was exclusive. Man, remember Extreme G? Game was awesome.
yes.
It was like F-Zero on motorcycles essentially. Um then there were like weird games like Twisted Edge Extreme Snowboarding, which was the snowboarding game I had instead of 1080 snowboarding. Because
Oh,
1080
1080s.
snowboarding was like $60 or $70 and Twisted Edge was 15. So that's what I got.
uh,
Uh,
Ready to Rumble. Oh, yeah, Ready to Rumble boxing with the two.
Ready to
Was
Rumble
fun.
Boxing was awesome.
It
I
was
love that
it,
game.
it was fun on Dreamcast.
Uh,
Quest 64.
oh my gosh, yeah. They're attempting an RPG.
Yeah, and it didn't. Yeah.
Yeah. But then like, they were that was just like a weird time for third party stuff because like you would see games with the same titles on different platforms, but they were just totally
Mhm.
different games. And then you would see like just weird exclusive games that were, I mean, Acclaim was doing a lot for N64 back then, right? Like
Oh yeah.
just a ton. But and then you had like these weird Mario 64 ripoffs like Glover. Remember Glover?
Oh yes.
Didn't Limited Run just re-release that game at some point?
They did. Yeah.
Mm, yeah.
Uh,
Side tangent, did you see the fiasco that Limited Run just found themselves in?
no, what happened?
The Switch 2 physical versions
Yeah.
are key cards. They're not even physical games. They're just the Switch 2 key card.
Like the game key cards, or it's just like
Yeah,
a
the game
digital
key cards.
code?
No,
Oh,
like the game key cards. They're not even the game on the cartridge. And people are really angry. They're like, that just literally defeats the purpose of your whole business model. Which I'm like, well, their business model is bad anyway. But
yes.
oh my gosh, I despise that company so much.
So you did buy some games.
I did, and I turned around and sold them for like triple what I bought them for. So,
Did you?
yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, dude, I sold Persona. I got Persona 4 Golden for like
Uh-huh.
what were they selling it for? 35 or $40. I sold it for like
Yeah.
100.
Wow.
Yeah. I thought about keeping them, right? Because I was like, well, I shouldn't like judge having a physical copy of this game based on the company. I'm like, maybe I should. Maybe I should just make a profit off of them. And I did. So it was fine.
Because I literally, when you was buying gas, you told me that they had stuff. I'm just like, come on, Pat, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Next,
Yeah.
Oh wow, that I did not know.
Yeah.
Well,
So
Corey,
what?
Paper Mario was a big one. Was a good one on there.
Yeah. I remember
Um,
people were like, why isn't it Super Mario RPG 2? Remember that
yeah,
whole thing?
yeah.
And Nintendo tried
Because
to like pass it off as that, which, kind of was, but people were mad.
and then Perfect Dark, I remember that game being big, but I I didn't care for Perfect Dark.
I wasn't a big Perfect Dark person either. I I never really played Perfect Dark at all.
Huh.
I was definitely a 007 person. I had GoldenEye and then that was weird because GoldenEye was on N64, right?
Yes.
Tomorrow Never Dies was the second Pierce Brosnan movie, and that game was exclusive to PlayStation, and it was a third-person shooter, like third-person action shooter.
Mm-hmm.
And then The World Is Not Enough was the third Pierce Brosnan movie, and that was done by EA, not Rare, and it was exclusive to N64, and
Mm-hmm.
it was just as good as GoldenEye, and I think everybody just forgets about it because the movie was not very good. And so, but like that game was just as good as GoldenEye, in my opinion.
The World Is Not Enough.
Yeah, at least the campaign. I didn't play a
Yeah.
lot of the multiplayer because everybody was playing Perfect Dark at that point. But
I was playing the multiplayer with my friends. It was our Friday night gaming.
uh-huh.
Um and everything. We didn't play so much of the campaign, but it was just like it was almost our Halo in a sense.
Uh-huh.
Because my one friend, he's a great sniper. Um uh and it was like always one versus one versus one, so because there was only three of us. So we the goal is who can we get out first? And so we would team up trying to take out my friend who was a sniper, or my friends would gain on me and take me out. Or my other friend, he would probably do like mess up and we'll take him out and stuff. But I
Uh-huh.
was always the first one to go get out and everything. Like, oh
Yeah.
dang that bit.
Yeah. It was
Uh
what? Sorry, go ahead.
oh, NFL NFL Blitz and NFL Quarterback Club were big on 64.
Yeah,
Uh,
that was so that I I had been introduced to Madden because my friend had Madden, right?
yes.
And I wanted a football game because I was really into football, right? But
Huh?
like Madden was like the premier game, and then Quarterback Club was like I don't know if Quarterback Club was like it was okay. It wasn't Madden, but it was okay. But like it was always cheaper, and so like that was the game I always got. Right? I had NFL Quarterback Club on Game Gear. I had NFL Quarterback Club on N64, and I had Quarterback Club all the way up until I got a PS2, which then I switched to Madden because I wasn't an idiot and I had been saving money up
Mm,
to buy Madden with a PlayStation 2. Uh, but like, yeah, man, like the weird sports games that ended up coming over that were like oddly nowhere else, right? Because they weren't on PlayStation because PlayStation had the 989 sports
yeah.
stuff.
Which
And I
I
mean,
have which I have a weird one for you. And I forgot about this game. Kobe Bryant and NBA
mhm.
Courtside, published by Nintendo. I
Yeah, they
forgot all about that game.
three games in that series. There were two on N64, and then I think the GameCube launched with one, or like came out shortly after launch.
Did you play them
I
or
played
anything?
I played the GameCube one, and on PS2 I had NBA Live, which was like pre 2K,
Yeah.
and then on Dreamcast I had NBA 2K. And so that game was just like it was the GameCube version was pretty bad. It was pretty bad, especially compared to those other two games, right?
I
Like
just,
uh, NBA Live was the best game at that point. Uh, so uh,
so the Kobe Bryant basketball was developed by Left Field Productions.
mhm.
Um there was an American video game developer based in Ventura, California, founded in 1994 by industry veterans John Brandwood, Jeff Godfrey, and Mike Lamb. Leftfield is best known for developing the critically acclaimed Nintendo 64 game, A Sight Bike 64.
Yeah, Excitebike, man. Excitebike 64 was awesome. Did you play Excitebike?
Yeah, I did.
Oh man,
Yeah, it
it was
was
awesome.
really, really good. Yeah.
I
Um.
love that game, man. Excitebike was so good. And it was at a time when like obviously extreme sports in the late 90s were like a thing, right?
Uh huh.
Obviously, everybody had their foot in the extreme sports door. Like, obviously Tony Hawk was huge, but then they had like the two BMX games and they had the inline skating game. And I think someone made a pro surfer game that was, everybody
huh.
had that template of Tony Hawk in some form. Even snowboarding games too. Like, sure, I mean, there was cool borders. There was, obviously 1080 and Twisted Edge. There
Hmm.
was uh, the Shaun White snowboarding game. Remember that?
Yes. Yeah.
Like everybody had their foot in the door on extreme sports, but like
Because
nobody
it
was
was.
really doing motocross right. And Excite Bike 64 came out and ended up being like a really great motocross game.
Yeah, because like extreme sports, I think started taking it off around that time, around like
Hmm.
close to the end of the '90s. Like it wasn't a big thing, and then it hit early 2000, um, or it hit around the 2000s, and that's when it started taking it off.
Yeah.
So you were getting games like Tony Hawk and Sean White. You was getting these extreme players, um, with these franchise IPs and stuff because on how big they were as personalities and recognizable in that field of that sport, and just how big they were, you know.
Hmm. Yeah. And so like you look at all that and Nintendo kind of entering the ring with that was kind of like it was a bold move because we hadn't really had anything Excite Bike. Because as far as I know, there wasn't a Super Nintendo Excite Bike, was there?
No, there wasn't. And
Yeah,
Sci-Fi didn't come back until N64 and then continued on until the Wii.
yeah, because the Wii had Excite Trucks, right? They tried to bring
Yeah.
the Excite name back and apply it to other things, right? They had Excite Trucks, and then they had the Excite Bots Trick Racing game, right? That was kind of.
Hmm.
Um, I wonder how an Excite Bike game would do these days. Not that I'm asking for one, but I wonder. Where that could come back at.
Where?
Ex- Excite Bike 99.
Ooh.
Like being included. I mean, dude, they did F-Zero 99. They can do this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just thought, Nintendo, you can have that one for free. You can have it. I think I feel like that would be pretty popular, actually.
It'd be funny. You making your lines and all of those pieces that you use to make the lines mix the tracks
Yeah.
and everything.
Hmm.
And then whoever get
Yeah.
down to the last one, uh in order for your that'd be crazy. In order for your driver to go, do the track that the 100 players made, you need to keep making like Tetris lines to make it accelerate.
Hmm.
Ooh, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, it would. So,
Uh,
man, now that's kind of
Dang,
what I want.
Jeremy McGrath, Supercross. Uh, Dang. What else? Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine
Hmm.
with the five loose.
Yeah, that game was okay.
December December 15th, 2000. Okay.
Yeah, that game was pretty okay. Um, I think the Xbox game that came out was
Uh
better.
huh.
But I mean, again, like nobody had really figured out 3D, so like it was really cool to have a Indiana Jones on N64. But that game is like really hard to. I mean, that game is really expensive to find now.
Oh, I believe you. Heck yeah.
Um, so
Uh,
yeah, I feel like Nintendo 64 has a lot of memories attached to it. There's so many.
mhm.
I mean, gosh, man, there's so many like amazing. I mean, Wave Race. We didn't bring up Wave Race really yet. Like I mean, that was the first
Yeah,
time we saw water that was like, oh my gosh, water.
good. Right, because a lot of us just like, you know, who who could do the best in water in 3D and make it look that good?
Right, because like you think of water that era, like you think of like you're swimming in like what Tomb Raider, right? Like
Yeah.
you look up and you're like, oh, that's just like a clear asset with like little white ripples animated on it, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
not really water, and like when you swam up to the surface, it was just like this weird cutoff point where like everything below this cutoff point was just a little bit darker because you're underwater, you know.
Right.
Uh, but it wasn't really water, or like you think of the purple chemicals in Sonic and you're just kind of choking on it. But um nobody had really done water like Wave Race had, and I mean
Yeah.
to that effect, like 1080 snowboarding was doing snow that way too. Like actually
Mm-hmm.
showing the snow kind of fly up when you are going down the hill. I almost said tracks, but that's not correct. Um, and I think Nintendo's games like that at the time, and then obviously they evolved on the GameCube, which were also great versions. Wave Blue Storm is like secretly one of the best GameCube games out
Oh, it's so good. But it was so hard to find when it came out.
there. Yeah, I mean, yeah, because it came out like shortly after launch, right? Like 6 months
Yeah.
after, and like, but like I think it undersold because people were buying Smash Brothers and Luigi's
Mm-hmm.
Mansion and Pikmin. Pikmin was a new IP from Nintendo that people were actually like really excited about. So,
Yeah, when they found out it was Miyamoto, they was just like, "Yeah, we're gonna get it."
mhm,
Uh,
yeah,
well,
and I know.
speaking of Smash, oh, go ahead, Corey.
Oh, I was gonna say, I just know a lot of people on our staff have a lot of appreciation for Nintendo 64 in their library. But go ahead, because that doesn't make
Uh,
sense at this point in the show.
no, I was about to say you mentioned Smash Brothers and
Hmm.
Super Smash Brothers on N64 was huge, a good intro to that IP. Before the GameCube version, just like became one of the best games for a lot of people. They were just like, "This is the GameCube game."
Right. I mean, you remember the early Smash Brothers commercials with like them and the like dollar store
The
Disneyland costumes of the Mario characters. They're just like
yeah.
walking along, and like Donkey Kong is literally just a guy in a onesie with a Donkey Kong mask on. Like a fully made like something you would see at a theme park like head, right? But like the suit he was wearing was not a Donkey Kong suit. It was just like a onesie, essentially a brown onesie.
And they
Uh,
had to be hot because they was it's just like they was in that field. Uh
yeah, skipping through the field, and then you just see what Mario trips Yoshi, I think,
yeah.
and then they like just start fighting each other.
And how did Nintendo get the music, licensed music to Happy Together?
I mean, it's Nintendo, and it was the '90s, man. They were just, you know,
Licensed music was so like easy to get.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, you think of all the movies and stuff back then that had licensed music, and it was like, man, people were
Yeah.
just like kind of giving that away at some point.
Uh Castlevania, which was like not a great game at all. Uh,
I didn't play Castlevania. Um, what
yeah.
else? Oh, the Resident Evil, right? Did you talked a little bit about Resident Evil
Yeah,
earlier, but
Resident Evil. Yeah, so Resident Evil 2, put um they put both games on the cartridge. So there were I think they cut some stuff to it, but like the loading was shorter than
uh-huh,
the PlayStation one.
uh-huh.
And I remember renting the game, playing it through the main storyline, and then going back and play it as who was the female in that one? Uh,
Uh, not Jill.
Not Jill. Jill was the third game, Resident Evil 3, which I beat on Dreamcast. Uh,
Claire.
Claire. Yeah.
Huh.
So I went the first way through Leon, and then went through Claire. Excuse me, and all of it was on one cartridge. Like I think I beat the whole game within like 3 weeks and stuff.
Yeah, but the significant thing about the N64 version was they added all that stuff about Resident Evil Zero in it, which was being teased for GameCube at the time.
And then it never came out for N64. It came out on GameCube. Because there were some things that changed. Blast Course was a big one. I pretty much that's pretty. Oh, Banjo. We mentioned Banjo Kazooie. I think that's pretty much it that I could think of.
Yeah, it's funny. Outside of like Rare, Nintendo's output on N64 was pretty slim. Like,
yeah,
Nintendo proper. I mean, what you have 2 Zelda games, Mario, Pilot Wings. I mean, I guess it wasn't that slim, but like the games you think about are usually like the Rare games. It's and Mario and Zelda, right? You don't think of Quest 64. You don't think of Kirby. You don't really think of Yoshi's Story.
Yeah.
You know, you think of the Rare games. You think of Diddy Kong. You think of, like you don't even really think of Smash all that much. Like for a lot of people, Smash started on Melee. Like the good Smash started on Melee, right? So
yeah.
I always kind of like am sad that people don't remember the 64 one that much because I loved the 64 Smash.
Yeah.
And I thought it was so clever when Ultimate came out that they just started with the 64 roster and you had to like unlock the characters.
Yes.
It was annoying to unlock them all, but
that
it was
added
cool
the
that
replay value.
Yeah, it was cool that they started that way, right? So
Ken Griffey Jr. I think this was the last one because I don't think he came to GameCube.
Yeah, no, what was it? King Griffey Jr. Slugfest or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the obviously the follow-up to the Super Nintendo game, but I definitely don't think people enjoyed it as much.
Because I think that was the last one of his contract.
Yeah. I think also like Nintendo has always had a good relationship with the Mariners, right? Like the Seattle-based team that they co-own, I think, or they own some stake in the Mariners. Which is why they're wearing Nintendo patches on their sleeves this year, probably along with, obviously advertising for the Switch 2. But yeah, man.
Oh, weird. Ooh. Okay.
We didn't even talk about all the games that were like moved to the GameCube or canceled, right? Like Dinosaur Planet. I'm telling you, man. After we record here, I'm sending you a picture of that Dinosaur Planet on N64. It's on my box. It's on my launch console box.
Because that Dinosaur Planet came Star Fox Adventure, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they had, was it a purple hair girl or something?
It was the Crystal, the fox.
Yeah.
Was the main character and her sidekick was the Triceratops that ended up becoming, that other side character in there. Right. But it was them. That was the whole thing.
Yes.
And that's why she was added to the Star Fox crew. Because they just had that asset and they didn't want to lose it.
They were just like Dorian. Final Fantasy became Final Fantasy 7 on PlayStation 1.
Yeah. And then, Animal Forest, right, ended up coming to GameCube as Animal Crossing.
Yep.
So, yeah. What a great console the N64 was. I love the N64 so much.
It's amazing when you look at the list of games and you just be like, oh yeah, that came out. I played that definitely that. I remember this game, like going from 2 games to almost, I would say, like what, over 100.
I mean, I think there's like 200 and something games on the N64. Not 100% sure, but how many there are, but yeah.
And I think that's what's going to make it. Sorry, well, not sorry. The GameCube, no, not the GameCube, the N64 on Switch and Switch 2, definitely probably on Switch 2. That's going to make those games even more appealing if they come out for the Switch 2. I mean, for the Nintendo 64 expansion pack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because like this is a big library.
Mm-hmm.
Mega Man 64, which was Mega Man Legends on PlayStation 1. Heck yeah, bring that on to N64 expansion.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
that was. I forgot that Mega Man 64 came out.
I beat that on Nintendo 64 because of the load times that it was cut.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it was on the cartridge.
Yeah, Kaka was in their bag for Nintendo 64. They were late to the party, but they supported Nintendo.
They did what they could.
Yes. Well, Corey, I think we could wrap it up there. Any more games or anything that you could think of?
No, I really love the N64. It's probably my second, outside of like modern Nintendo, right? Like it's probably my second favorite classic console behind GameCube, and it's close, right? I think the only reason why, well, two major reasons I like the GameCube better, right? Is the graphics are better, right?
Yes.
And the controller is much better.
Right? Yes.
Yes. And it has my favorite Zelda game of all time on there, so it also probably gives it a quick boost. So, but yeah, I think the N64 is a special console, and it did a lot of things that people, like I said earlier, that I probably should have just left for here, right? Like our a lot of the Boss Rush crew grew up on N64, right? And Stephanie specifically is like obsessed with the N64 at this point. She ordered that analog. What was it? The analog 64 4K thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of great memories with N64, and if I'm going to collect retro console games, like N64 and GameCube are going to be the two that I circle to have collections for, right? So, good job, Nintendo. N64, great. Controller, not great, but look, we got the GameCube out of it, so.
Right. And then I would say it was an evolution in controllers because of the analog stick. I feel like the analog stick, was able to make 3D running around fast and easy. And a great way to use it. And then Microsoft came in with the dual sticks and made doing 3D platformers and definitely shooters easier to play. So
yeah, I mean, I would attribute the dual analog sticks to PlayStation, really. But I think Microsoft perfected it, especially on the S controller, the smaller controller.
I thought Xbox had it out first.
PlayStation 1 had the DualShock, right? Because they re-released.
Oh, okay.
They had that, and then they ended up re-releasing Resident Evil DualShock Edition.
Because of what the N64 was doing with the analog. Okay.
Yeah. So, and obviously analog sticks became much bigger than.
Now it's the primary way to game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, and nobody really uses the D-pad anymore for anything.
I mean, unless the game allows you to,
right?
for controller, and that kind of depends on what you're playing and stuff. Because I'm like, I feel more comfortable using the D-pad for like the Mega Man collection than I do the analog. But if I'm playing like a Mario game now, a 2D Mario game, I feel kind of better and adapted to using an analog stick over the diagonal controller. I mean the cross controller. So. But with that, everybody, that's going to be it for Expansion Pass. Let us know what you think of the Nintendo 64 nostalgia games, or tell us of the memories that you had about the console if you got the chance to play it. If you didn't get a chance to play it, did you try the games on NSO for Nintendo Switch? And what would you like to see when Nintendo Switch 2 comes out and all the Expansion Pass gets moved over there? We definitely would like to know. With that, everybody, have a great week, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time on Expansion Pass. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye. If you want to see how you can become a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/BossRushNetwork. The Patreon producers for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Sana Dirrig, Francisco Santillan, Matthew Keel, Retrostoy, and Christian S. Thanks for your continued support of the Boss Rush Network.